Okay, so first question is, something we all have questions about, and it's from our Waterloo location. And the question is, I'm fairly good with meals, but I really struggle with healthy snacks. Any tips, or what can I do to get on track with snacks? Awesome question. And then I'm going to follow that with a question from Guelph Aberfoyle, which is, do you recommend having a snack between meals? Currently, I don't, but maybe I should. Okay, so here we go. Let's answer that question. So first of all, I want you to know that every person is different. It's not a one size fits all, okay? I want you to know what works best for you, and what works best for you may not work best for somebody else, okay? Some people do well with snacking every few hours, and that works great for them. Others just do 3 meals or maybe 4 meals and no snacks in between. I really think that it's up to you to decide that what's going to be right for your body. So I want you to listen to your body and also pay attention to your results. So if you're not where you want to be and you've been kind of doing it your way, maybe it's changing things up. So if you feel satisfied and you don't have cravings and you're only having 3 meals and that's working for you, then I would say stick with it. But if you're finding that you're craving, you're hungry, and you're not quite where you want to be with your results, I would say incorporating some hormonally balanced snacks. And we talked a little bit about this last week, where we want to have a proper snack so we don't spike our insulin, we don't spike our blood sugar. So that is a protein, a carb, and a fat, okay? So putting them all together, and I'm gonna go through some examples in a moment, but you wanna try doing that, because what happens if you have a really sugary snack, it's going to spike your insulin, your blood sugars, you're gonna come down, you're gonna crash, but then you're gonna be hungry again, then you're going to crave. So if you are doing the snacking, make sure they are balanced. Now, research is always changing, as you probably know, in the health world. One study will say one thing, and one study will say another thing. So what tends to be actually a movement now is people are saying no snacking. Okay, so just I want you to be aware of both schools of thought. Last week, I mentioned to you a book by the name of The Obesity Code. We talked a little bit about that. In this book, Dr. Fung talked about the release of insulin. And the idea is you want to keep that insulin release, or the amount of insulin you have circulating, low, because insulin promotes fat storage. Okay, and so his argument is with snacking, the more you snack, the more insulin you release. Okay, that's his argument. Now, I would say in working with women all these years, especially busy, stressed out women that we all are, women who tend to skip meals and we maybe drink a lot of coffee, things are already off and out of place with that, meaning with our hormone levels, right? Because we're stressed out, so we've got those hormones, maybe we're not sleeping. So I find that hormonally balanced snacks every few hours, especially for new moms. So say when they're breastfeeding baby, it's time to feed themselves, or busy moms that are out in the workforce every few hours, because I find that often if we are that type A personality and we want to get things done and go, 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 we often do that at the expense of our schedule, our nutrition schedule, and meals get pushed to the side, and we'll drink coffee, we'll eat on the run, and then when we get home, we're going to attack the fridge, or we're not going to have that self-control, and then everything's going to be off. So I find that snacking is helpful, but again, you've got to figure out what is going to work best for you and listen to your body. Really take the time to listen to your body. A lot of trainers will tell you, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. I want to teach you, and what we teach at the Buff Mom is that you are unique, and you've got to listen to you, your intuition, listen to your hunger, listen to how satisfied you are, and then adjust accordingly. Okay, I'm not seeing these comments. Hey guys, hi, great. Okay, I can see the comments now. My screen was a little off. So just a note about that, really listen to what you're doing and go from there, especially though if you suffer from acid reflux. A lot of times big meals are difficult for the system to digest. It's really taxing on the digestive system. So those little meals will make a difference. So again, listen to your body. Journaling can be extremely beneficial in this situation. So writing down what you're eating, but not just what you're eating, how you're feeling afterwards. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. Examples of snacks. So once again, you want the well-balanced protein, the well-balanced carb, the well-balanced fat. Okay, and there, I just want to be able to see the comments. Hey guys. Okay, so well-balanced protein, carb, and fat. And then let's put some of those together, okay? Remember, high sugar is going to make you hungry. We talked about that. So hummus and veggies and a handful of nuts is awesome if you can do it. We have sesame allergies in our house. We can't do hummus. I really, really miss it, but it's an excellent snack, and hummus has really little effect on insulin. Won't spike insulin, so hummus is great. A protein smoothie, making sure you're careful about what you put in it, because sometimes we'll make the mistake of loading up that smoothie with all sorts of fruits and other things, and then we just really increase the rate at which our blood sugar spikes and the insulin releases. So be very careful about that. So you want to kind of go through this formula. You have your protein, which is probably the protein. And by the way, you don't have to use a commercial protein powder. You can use hemp hearts. Hemp hearts are great, and it's a complete protein, and it's a plant-based protein. So 1 or 2 tablespoons into your smoothie will be a great protein source for that. You want to make it with like some sort of milk or water, so non-dairy milk, because you want to watch the sugar. Almond, coconut, hemp milk is great. I make my own hemp milk. Maybe I'll show you that one time how I do it. It's really, really easy. Nut butters can go in there. Coconut oil is awesome for your skin. And so that really balances out that smoothie. And you can add in some vegetables if you want, but go through a protein, a carb, and a fat, okay, for that snack. Hard-boiled eggs with veggies, also awesome. I know sometimes they're not ideal if you want to take them out. They kind of smell, but they are great when it comes to snacks. Half your lunch. So maybe you only eat half your lunch, and then a couple hours later, you eat half your lunch again. Homemade protein bars. I've talked about this before. Packaged is going to mean preservatives. It's going to mean artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols, which we'll talk about, cause bloating often if you're trying to flatten your tummy. They're okay once in a while, but if you're making snacks and you want to be vigilant about it, homemade protein bars are great. We've posted recipes before. In fact, I think we just sent out a recipe, or we're sending it out, a link to our protein balls. Chia pudding, another awesome one, and that can replace yogurt even, and you can take it with you to work. Really, really simple. Fruit and good quality cheese and nuts. Okay, so the higher the quality of the cheese, the less lactose. It's going to be easier for your body to digest. So enjoy that good quality cheese. I know Courtney loves cheese. Enjoy that good quality cheese, and just a little bit of nuts. Watch the serving size. And overnight oats, another great one. If you're not sure how to make it, just put it into Pinterest. An awesome, awesome idea, and we'll be doing more of that as we go along. Okay, so some snack ideas. A protein, a carb, and a fat. It's up to you whether you snack or not. Okay, listen to your body. Look at your results. Next, what is an example of a complex carb? And this comes to us from Guelph Aberfoyle. And this is a great question, because we throw these terms around and we just assume everybody knows what this is, but it's important to understand how these foods work in your body. So a carbohydrate is made up of 3 components: a fiber, a starch, and a sugar. The difference between a complex and a simple is a complex has a fiber, a starch in it. Okay, so it's going to slow down the rate at which that carbohydrate enters the bloodstream. Every carbohydrate turns to sugar in the system. The question is, how quickly does it happen? And that's a simple carb. So it's just a sugar. So it's going to enter, and right away it's going to release. And those are the things we were talking about last week when it comes to our sugar addictions. So simple carbs, good note to be aware of, so you know that as soon as I eat this, it's going to make me going to give me energy, and then of course it's going to drop, and I'm going to crave, and also it's going to encourage fat storage as well. Okay, so remember the difference between a complex and a simple, and some more interesting information about that. Simple carbs, they appear naturally in things like milk, so lactose, but they appear unnaturally in other foods, and that's again what we were talking about last week. So things like added sugars, so raw sugar, I've got a list here: brown sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, glucose, fructose, sucrose, fruit juice concentrate, all added in. Simple carbs added into your food is going to make it give you that effect once again of that high and then that drop, and then that promotes fat storage. So we want to stay away from that. We want to minimize the amount of simple carbs. and maximize the complex carbs. Now, complex carbs, there's some difference there too, because there's fiber, there's starch. They are going to enter the bloodstream more slowly, because we know fiber and protein and all those things slow it down. And they're more filling. So it's a good choice if you're trying to lose weight, really good choice. We talked about fiber last week. We want to increase our fiber. Most people aren't getting the recommended 25 grams of fiber a day, both soluble and insoluble. So just start to take note, but increasing your complex carbohydrates will help you do that. So complex carbs includes anything carby. So we've got fruits, strawberries, bananas, apples, vegetables, breads, rice, pastas. But interestingly, with carbohydrates, there's also a complex or a starchy carbohydrate. So there's complex carbs, and then there's a starchy carbohydrate. And that just means there's the starch component, and that has 3 times the amount of carbohydrate as a regular carb. Okay, so that's why increasing vegetables, really good vegetables, filling your plate with half the vegetables is a really good idea if you're trying to drop weight, because you're increasing your fiber, you're slowing down that rate that the food enters the bloodstream, you're keeping your insulin low, you're feeling full. Starchy carbs are things like whole wheat bread or breads, whole wheat bread. You've got rice in there. What else would be there? Pasta, oats, peas, beans, cereal. So complex. So you've got a starch in there in addition to the sugar and the fiber. Okay, so you want to try to minimize those, get most of your carbohydrates from the fruits and the vegetables. And then, the complex carbs, 1 or 2 servings, they're really healthy and they're great for us, especially if we're working out. But just be aware that it's easy for us to overconsume these, especially the rice and the pastas. And we talked about minimizing the whites last week. But even if it's, a whole grain pasta or whole grain rice. Okay, so just a note about that. The next question, so great question there. The next question, and I love this. This comes to us from our Kitchener location. I'm having a stressful day at work. When I come home, I just want to relax. I find myself eating. What else can I do? This is a very common question. I think we'll all agree we've been there before, okay? The first thing I would say to do is we need to make sure that we're fueling ourselves properly throughout the day. We're getting everything we need to get first before we tackle this issue. So that means, are we starting off with a well-balanced breakfast? The protein, the carb, and the fat. Are we eliminating the added sugars? Are we trying to take away some of the whites that might be causing that insulin spike? Are we drinking enough water? We know water, we talk about it all the time, but it is so important, and we're going to get to it again when we talk about how to flatten the tummy. Water, really, really important. Are we watching the artificial sweeteners? Are we getting enough sleep? Are we taking care of ourselves? Because often what's happening at night is just a reflection of everything that's been happening during the day. We're tired, we're stressed out, we're frustrated, so we eat, and then we get on this cycle again. And just like we talked last week, we feel like we give our control away. We want to get our control back. Okay, so that comes to the mind management and reflection. So important to manage this up here, because that is responsible for our results. We've got to think about, what are we saying to ourselves? How are we feeling about things? What is the emotion behind the stress? If you're feeling at night that you're going to the cupboard, ask yourself, what is actually at the root cause here? What am I really thinking about? Is it anger? Is it loneliness? Is it frustration? Do I just need a break? And this is the part that's a little bit more difficult to change, because it takes a little time. But once you narrow into what's really fueling those bouts of emotional eating, it can be really, really powerful. So I would recommend journaling about this, figuring out what it is, and really writing it down, so then you can create some strategies around that. If it's fear, if it's anger, how can we deal with those issues? And how can we fill that void rather than filling it with food or anything else? And we do it with all sorts of things, it's alcohol, it's drugs, it's shopping. We fill that void with so many other things. But if we ask ourselves first, what is at the root of it, then we can start to take the steps toward it. And it's not as easy. The other stuff is easy. Exercising is easy. You know, eating something that's healthy, it's fairly easy. But this stuff, it's a little more challenging, but it's what makes the lasting changes in your life. Become aware of that conversation you have with yourself, okay? And this one I think can be beneficial, and that is habit changes. So looking at what you're doing to spark, other than the thinking, that indulgence or that emotional eating. So for example, I've used this before where you sit down to watch TV and all of a sudden you got to go to the kitchen and you've got to eat. The TV sitting, or even that room, that spot on the couch, is triggering you to go into the kitchen. So what might work is watching TV on another floor or in another room away from the kitchen. Or even if you're watching downstairs but you're still being triggered to go upstairs, could go to a completely different area. Or maybe you're not going to watch TV at all, and instead you're going to do some self-care. You're going to take care of yourself. You're going to read. Maybe you'll journal. Maybe you'll do some meditation, or you'll have a bath. But changing that little routine is really important. So maybe you can relate to this. If you drive to work and you drive down the street and you always drive past a certain restaurant, and driving past that restaurant encourages you to go in and buy that certain thing that you love, maybe you're going to drive down a different street so you're not prompted to do that. It's a mind game. You can try that and see if it worked. We talked about that last week with me and the licorice and college. I was, going past the place, I was buying licorice and I was eating it. That was causing me to do that. So you've got to figure out what works, okay? And stretching at night, meditation really helps. I'm a meditator. I've been meditating for 3 years. I do transcendental meditation. There's different types of meditation, and the reason I selected this is you have to have a teacher work with you. Is it's very easy to follow. 20 minutes at 6 in the morning, and then I do 20 minutes again at 2 in the afternoon. And my body relies on it now, but that really helps the emotions. And research shows meditation is really effective for helping you manage stress, managing fear, anxiety. So I highly encourage you, if anyone has any questions about it, let me know. But meditation is phenomenal. Okay, so the next question, and it's a good one. I know you guys are going to like this. It's, what can I do to flatten my tummy? Okay, so I'm going to tell you, it's not in the crunches. I think you knew I was going to say that. When it comes to a flat tummy, people will think it's all about the exercise. And yes, exercise is great because it's going to build those muscles. It's going to make us look more defined. It's going to make us feel stronger. But the reality is we're building the muscles inside in order to chisel away and see the six-pack that we all have. It's all there. It's just, we've got it covered. It's the nutrition will do that. It's not about a six-pack. I use that because you can understand the analogy there. The nutrition really helps get to the definition and flatten your tummy. Now, that said, there are some things that you can do that will make a big impact. And so it really comes down to nutrition. So the types of foods we're eating, and I'll talk about that in a moment, plus water, okay? Water. And of course, exercise, yes, important because it boosts our metabolism. We burn more calories, we feel good, all that good stuff. But for now, we're going to talk about the choice of food and water. So drinking water is important because when we don't get enough water, we've talked about this before, our body holds on to water. So it will most likely hold on to it in all the places we don't want the water to be, like our belly or our legs or our ankles. Okay, so when we're not getting enough, our body wants more. When we give it enough, it just lets it all go. That's why you can change nothing except water, and then notice 3 days you feel lighter. Everything gets flushed out. But important to the belly is we need water for proper digestion. A sluggish digestive system needs a lot of water. So to get things moving, because that's how we're going to flatten the belly, that's how we're going to improve our gut health, is we've got to increase our water consumption. And that formula, once again, I repeat it all the time, is 1 ounce per kilogram of body weight. So if you still haven't written that down, please write that down now. 1 ounce per kilogram of body weight. It is essential. You've got to add the water in, whether you like it or you're not, to get that system moving, okay? Also, avoiding foods that cause bloating, and some foods you may not have realized cause bloating, and it's going to be different for everybody, but I want you to just pay attention to how you're feeling after those foods, things like carbonated water. Okay, see how you're feeling. Does it make you bloat? Maybe it doesn't make you bloat. Some people pay attention to that. Soda pop, we talked about soda last week and the sugar content, but also the diet pop, because there's artificial sweeteners in there that are going to spike your insulin. Salty foods, packaged foods, processed foods, sugar, alcohols, and artificial sweeteners. That's why we talk so much about the protein bars, because often they are sweetened with sugar alcohols, and that's difficult for our body to digest and causes digestive upset. So sugar, alcohols, and artificial sweeteners, really have a look at that. Pay attention to how you are feeling. Notice any patterns, and then try to eliminate that food for even 4 days and see if it makes a difference. You're going to know right away. Food intolerances also cause bloating. It's not a full-out allergy, but you may have a food intolerance. Common allergies include dairy, gluten, soy, sometimes eggs bother people. Once again, pay attention to how you feel. You're going to know within 30 minutes of eating that food if you're in tune with your body, if it's right for you, if it's not right for you. You're going to know that. And then there's 2 more. Gut health for a flat tummy is so important, and making sure you have the proper balance of healthy bacteria and good bacteria, bad bacteria, so you can properly digest foods. Now, a good quality probiotic is going to help you with that. So talking to someone who knows their stuff, going to a reputable health food store and talking to them about what you want. All strains may not be good for all people. It may take a little trial and error, but it is really essential and makes such a difference. And if you want a science-backed way of eating to improve your gut health, and to really, flatten your tummy, something called the low FODMAP diet. You may have heard this or not. It stands for fermentable, oligo, di, monosaccharides, and polyos. If there's any physicians listening and I've butchered that, I'm sorry, but let's just call it FODMAP, okay? And it can be extremely beneficial for managing your gut health, and a lot of the research has been done out of a university called Monash University, and they've developed this protocol. And what it does is they've found that some carbohydrates, healthy ones that we consume all the time, actually ferment in our gut and give off gases and make it worse, and make you bloated. So switching to that type of diet can be really beneficial, and I've followed this actually myself. It just is really, really helpful, and it's Monash University. I will post under this live the link to their research. I believe it's a not-for-profit. They also have a great app, so you can see the FODMAPs in foods. For example, healthy things that we eat all the time, cauliflower, garlic, and onions have high FODMAPs in them, so they can be causing bloating and indigestion. I know for me, I was always into eating lots of vegetables and garlic and onions, and it just didn't work. So I've taken out garlic. You can use, in place of garlic infused olive oil. You can get that locally. There's a great olive oil shop in Hustler, but any olive oil shop or health food shop, you can get that, so you can still get the taste of garlic. And then, of course, onions, I just took them out. They were really difficult on my system. I know right away if I've eaten them. I wish I could eat them, but I can't. It's monashfodmap.com, monashfodmap.com. The app is awesome. You do have to pay for it. I think it's $9 or $6, but it's highly worth it. It's well researched and it's all scientifically based. Okay, so low FODMAP. Awesome job, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.